Thanks for joining Let It Fly Disc Golf, and in this video I'm going to share my secrets on how I record myself out in the field and what equipment I use and how to use it. So stay tuned. I want to give a shout out to all the people who have been watching my videos and liking and subscribing and leaving comments. I've talked about this before in my videos. If you're on the field, it's a good idea to record yourself. Maybe not to the point where you're analyzing your videos on the field, but so that this way later you can go back and look to see if anything has been changing over this time. Maybe you're working on nose angle, maybe you're working on your feet work, maybe you're working on your hips. The only thing is that you really won't know unless you actually see it or unless somebody tells you. So the best way to actually know if you're doing this correctly is by watching video of yourself. These are the products that I use out in the field. When I have a phone, I have a clip on my cart, and I have this tripod. The cool thing about this tripod is that it's very, very compact and it extends really, really high or really, really low. So that's what's really cool. The other thing is that you can also pivot this to where you can record in a portrait mode or in landscape. For our case, we're gonna record in landscape because sometimes you might not set up the camera just right, and this way you get most of the shot, which is really, really important. I will link where you can find this on Amazon. The other cool thing is that it does have a Bluetooth, so that this way you can trigger it when you're recording. So if I'm carrying my bag, I will carry the tripod. But if I'm not carrying my bag and I'm carrying my cart, this is attached to my cart at all times, so that this way I can just pop my phone on it, park my cart where I need to, and then hit record, and we're good to go. This is a two-part. Basically, it's like the GoPro mount. The part that actually holds onto the actual pole of my cart is different from this, so it's two different products. So first things first, when you're recording with your phone, one, you want to make sure your lens is clean, so take whatever you can, clean the lens really, really well, so that this way it's not foggy whenever you're recording, because if you're not checking your video, you probably won't know this until you get to hole 18 and kind of find out your entire video is foggy. The other thing is the actual settings. I use an iPhone and I use the regular video camera on my phone. So for me, I shoot 1080 at 240 frames per second, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, why that's important. So let's go into our phone and we will change our settings. Okay, so we're gonna click on the camera app and we're gonna go into video mode, but we're gonna switch this down to slow-mo. So over here, we can switch it to slow-mo. You can only be in HD for slow motion, so 4K doesn't go up to 240 frames. Now we can switch this to 120 frames, but we want it to be on 240 frames. The reason for that is because remember, it gives us some more frames that we can view and mess with. So now that it's on HD 240 frames, we're pretty much set to go. We can hit record and take off from there. So let's talk about setup. For the most part, you turn on your camera, you step back, and you basically want to set it up to what you're trying to focus on. If I'm trying to focus on my elbow, you can get some good shots from behind. What we really want is the camera to be set up in front of us while we're throwing. If I'm throwing forehands, of course, we would want the camera to be set up on this side, so that this way it gets everything that I want in the shot. So in this case, we have our camera set up in the back. We're gonna turn on the camera, hit record. It's recording at 240 frames per second, slow motion. We'll throw 2 off the tee. This time, I'm gonna focus on that nose. So as you can see, this is running at 240 frames. We're gonna pause it. Now the cool thing about the slow motion is that you can grab basically the picture at the bottom, the timeline, and you can just kind of scroll left and right so you can kind of see what's going on here. Right here is the part that I'm talking about. For me, if I'm working on nose angle, I'm looking at the disc coming through the body. In this case, I should be seeing the top, but at this point, I am seeing the bottom of the disc, which tells me that the nose or the angle of the disc coming into my body is slanted. I want it to be pointed down so I can see the top of it. So there I can see the top of the disc. As it comes in, I can still see the top of it somewhat, and then as it comes out of my body, that should be nose down. So when I'm looking for nose angle, this is what I'm checking if I'm recording from the backside. Now when I do put my phone on the actual tripod, I like to put it where the screen is facing out, so that this way when I'm walking, I can actually watch video. There's some settings that I'll show you so that this way you can modify the video. You can save small clips of the best shots so that this way you can review these later. So let's record 90 degrees to the tee pad, and then we'll review that as well. Now, before I start my video, I usually make sure that it's in focus. So sometimes whenever I set it up, I will just tap on the actual screen for the T-pad so that this way it gets in focus. That doesn't always ensure that your video is going to come out great, but at least this way it's focused on a spot so that this way it gives you the better chance not to have blurry film. Second shot, trying to be really slow and smooth. Now this is the part where I was talking about setting up the camera so that this way you can see what you got. So as you can see, the disc is coming in nicely, but then right here kind of goes up. Still has a good flight. I believe this one was better. Yep. So the cool thing about this is, let's say that you don't want the first one in here, you're not going to keep it, but you want to keep the second throw because you are just saying, okay, well, this is a good throw. I want to keep this so that this way I can review it later. What we can do, instead of keeping the entire frame, because sometimes I'll go out and I'll throw like 4 or 5, maybe even 10 shots, and I don't want a big file in my phone. So you can go to the edit mode at the top, and then over here on the left side where the play button is, there's a little triangle that we can move. What this will allow you to do is just grab what you want to keep in the video. So let's say I go right here. And then I'm going to grab the back side of it and say I want that. So I want that little portion to be my video clip that I want to keep. I'm going to hit done, and then I want to save it as a new clip. If I'm recording with my cart, there's no difference. One thing I will tell you is just be a little cautious when you're recording with your cart. One, you want to make sure that you have a stand to where if you're on a hill or you're able to adjust this. But once I get it set, I have the camera facing me so that this way I can hit record. So that's pretty much it using the actual stands itself, the settings that I set on my phone, and being able to move through the actual course. Very, very simple. Set up your cart before anybody's on the tee, hit record, walk off, and just let it record. Once you're done, make sure you hit stop recording. Okay. Now let's head over to the studio. I'll show you some software that I like to use and how to get the videos off of your phone. This is the application you should be using on Mac. It's called Image Capture. It's the easiest way to pull videos off of your phone, and this is what I use. So you can go up to the actual search bar at the very top, just type in Image Capture, and this one should pop up. Now, once you connect your phone, it's gonna ask you to actually unlock your phone. When you unlock it, you should start seeing images, pictures, and all kinds of stuff. All the stuff that says MOV are your movies. They are usually labeled from top to bottom, from the latest to the previous videos. And so it's really, really simple. Let's say that I want to grab this image right here. I can easily just click on it. I can tell it where to put it. So either I can go to other, I can set it onto the desktop. We'll just set it to the desktop. Once I click on it, I can click download, and it doesn't take long. As you can see, it's already downloaded over here, and we can actually start utilizing it at that point. Now on a Mac, it's kind of cool because you can actually click on it, hit spacebar, and you can actually start seeing the video. But let's move over to the application that we would use so that this way we can have a little bit more control with the video itself. Okay, so now that you have your actual file on your screen, what you're gonna do is open up iMovie. Now this is built in, usually it's built into Mac OS. It's the easiest software to use so that this way you can actually view this. Either you can go back to projects and you can create a new one. So if we go back here, example, and it's created it here, or you can hit on create new and it will allow you to choose a movie or a trailer. We're gonna go movie, and then I'm gonna scoot this over. I'm gonna grab our file, which is up here, drag it onto the import media. And what I like to do is just have one file. I'll just add all the videos into this point. You can click on them to choose which one you wanna play. You can also just kind of scrub over the top of the actual video clip, and it will allow you to fast forward or slow it down. So in this case, I'm going to click there. You don't have to drag this. Normally you could click and drag it onto the timeline, but in this case, you don't have to do that. What you can do is, let's say I click there, then I can go into full screen mode, move it to where I want it to. So let's say I'm here. Now, if I start playing it, then it's going to start showing it. Okay, now I can also hold shift down and make it go a little faster until I get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is the part where I'm looking at. So holding down just the arrow, you can see how slow it's going. That's the reason why 240 frames is really, really good to use for slow motion, so that this way you can see a lot of detail, right? And so we were talking about it before. This is coming up and then it's throwing nose up, whereas this one over here, holding that nose down the entire time and throwing it nose down. And that's pretty much it. So iMovie for Mac OS is the best software to use and the easiest to use. And then anytime that you get out of iMovie, it saves your videos inside the library, so that this way you can just open it up, drag a new video on it, and then keep all your videos here, so that this way you can review them. So let's move over to the PC and I'll show you how to do it there. Okay, so we're on the PC side. I have my phone connected to the computer, and as you can see, I can click on the iPhone over here on the PC. So in this case, I open up a File Explorer over on the left side. I can click on the iPhone, and then we see the internal storage. If we click on that, now we're gonna get these, supposedly they're supposed to be dates. So 07, 2024, so that is, you know, July 2024. And if I click on it, it'll start loading images. Now, if you don't see all of your images load up or all of your videos load up, you may have to disconnect your phone and then reconnect it. All right, so I'm gonna grab this, drop it onto the desktop, and then I'm gonna open up DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is a editor, a video editor, to where you can edit your videos. Now, the cool thing about DaVinci Resolve is that it's free. There is a paid version if you want to pay for it, but in this case, for what I'm doing, it's not that big of a deal. So in this case, the frame rate is okay for it to change automatically. Sometimes it's just like, okay, well, you're doing it in 4K. This is coming in as 1080p or 720p, whatever you're using. But as you can see, we can quickly utilize this. I can go full screen. I can hit play, it's still in slow motion, but then I can also use the arrows to view this full screen. Now, the reason why I like to do this on a computer is because I can see this in my phone, but my phone is a small little screen. When I'm trying to look for detail to see if I'm doing everything that I'm trying to do, this is whenever I would pull it into a computer and just kind of view it later on. What I notice is my game has kind of gone uphill because of the fact that I have been using a larger monitor to see the reaction of the disc. Like, am I doing what I'm doing? Is my form looking better? It's really hard to see that on a phone. And if that's the only way you can see it, you can definitely zoom in on your phone. But for me, this is just a lot easier just to pull it into a computer and then view it on a large screen. So that's going to be it for this video. I do want to appreciate everybody for liking and subscribing to my videos. Other than that, if you have any questions about any of the products that I put in the video, please put it in the comments. I really do appreciate that. I read all of them. Put in the comments if you do actually record yourself out in the field and how you analyze and what you're looking for. That's going to be it for this video. Please like and subscribe. Let me know if you like this content. Other than that, keep up the good work. Get out in the field. Let it fly. Peace.